Alright, and welcome back to Zero Cool Gaming, and today we're going to be doing a review of a game called Darkspore.
Initiating cryosleep termination. Restore full power to all ship systems. Consciousness regained. Probability of memory loss high. Commence briefing on events prior to cryosleep. Progenitors were genetic scientists of ancient order who traveled the galaxy endlessly using DNA transfection to restructure life at the molecular level. There were 5 methods of DNA transfection, each infused with the intrinsic properties of the planets they were discovered on.
So, let's just go ahead and start with what this game is about. So basically, you're a progenitor, a alien species that almost went extinct because of a creation of your own species called Darkspore. And the Darkspore have gone around the galaxy, corrupting all life and turning all life into Darkspore. And you were placed in cryostasis to be woken up once the Darkspore mutations started to stabilize, in the hopes that you would be able to regain some kind of control over the out of control mutations that were occurring as a result of the creation of Darkspore itself. And that's basically the story of Darkspore, truly. I mean, there's other aspects to it, but you get the idea. You need to go around, destroy all the Darkspore, collect all the things, and then finally find the hive mind, if you want to call it that started all of this insanity, and destroy it and free the universe from the clutches of evil. That's basically your story. So, not a bad story, not a bad premise, pretty basic, easy to understand. So what is the game itself? Well, the game itself is a very simplified third-person action RPG. Very simplified. In much the same way that Dungeon Siege is very simplified, and even Diablo is a very simplified third-person RPG. Most of the experience of this game is a single-player game where you go through a area which is essentially on rails. There's only one direction to go. It's not like you have multiple paths leading in multiple directions to lead you to different places, and you could pick and choose. It's not an open world type thing. Absolutely not. It is very directed. And you gain abilities as you advance through your levels. You gain new characters that you can use as you advance through your levels. If you use those characters, they will gain new abilities as you advance through your levels. And each character that you gain has specific abilities that are designed to work well against specific enemies. So it's a pretty standard format, truly, for a single player adventure. But this game is not a single player adventure. It requires a constant online connection in order for it to function. And today you can't play it at all because EA shut down the servers, and once they did that, the game itself became unplayable for everyone. There is no single player experience that you can retain on your computer and enjoy whenever you want because of how the game was designed. So again, this is a game that you purchased for, you know, $30, $40, $50, $60. I think I paid $19.99 for it when I bought it. And even though I had purchased the game, even though I have a CD for the game, and all of that, and I should own it, I don't, because EA owns it. And when EA said that I can no longer play it, they meant it. So it was a subscription. I paid $20 to play a game for what amounted to, from the time that I bought it until they shut it down, would have been like 6 years. And at the end of that 6-year period, I no longer own that game. That's essentially what it amounts to. Or I should say, I might as well not own it because I can't play it. Period. This is the problem with online requirements for gameplay. This is why I speak out against it. This is why I think this practice has to end. I mean, we just had the CEO of Ubisoft come out and say that gamers need to get used to not owning their games, because this is the type of experience that they want to create for all games, to where whenever they decide that they no longer want to support it, you no longer have it. You no longer own it. You can no longer enjoy the game that you purchased, because you didn't purchase it. You rented it. You had a subscription to it. Even though it may have only been a one-time fee for said subscription, it's still a subscription by their own terms of service. Until people get to the point that they're willing to not purchase these types of games and drive these companies bankrupt as a result of not purchasing these types of games, this kind of behavior will not only become the norm, it will become the only thing available. And the reason that I say that is because every time they reboot this damn thing, and I have no doubt that they'll reboot something like Darkspore again, you'll have to purchase the next one. And you'll have a subscription to that for 4, 5, 6 years, maybe. Maybe it's only 2 years before they get tired of supporting it. Who knows? And then you will no longer have a game to enjoy. Period. And it's already starting to become the norm, because people continue to purchase these games. People continue to think that this is okay, this is fine, because they keep wanting to believe that the next game is going to be a better, more enjoyable experience anyway, so I can just leave this game behind and move on to the next one. That's insane thinking. That's how they want you to think. That's why they push for this insanity. I will not engage in this. I realize that I have in the past, and that's what taught me to no longer engage in it in the future, or today. I mean, back then, today would be the future. That's kind of what I was getting at there. So, because I no longer engage in this, and I will not give them my money for this type of gameplay, there are a lot of games that I will never play. I mean, I bought Doom Eternal. At least I thought I did. There is no disc in the box. It is only downloadable. And the original game that they created no longer exists because of its online experience. They've changed the game since they designed it originally to make it easier and to appeal to a wider audience. And as a direct result of that, because it's an online experience, you will never be able to experience the game as it was originally designed ever again. And people want to believe that this is okay. No, it's not. I should be able, and I should have been able, right from the get-go, to purchase the game as it was originally created, enjoy that single-player experience, because it is a single-player experience, and being able to play that whenever I wanted for the rest of my life, regardless of what happens to the servers. But what they did was they developed specific online aspects to the game within the game so that the game itself would not function without those online aspects. You don't own this game. I should have never purchased it. Period. But ignorance prevails. And I was stupid in thinking that I could purchase this game and continue to have the single player experience regardless of them removing the online aspects from being available. And that's not what happened with Darkspore. What happened was when the online aspects of this game were shut down, the entire game became inoperable. It just will not load. It will not start up. It will not allow me to enjoy the single player aspects of Darkspore. Period. And that is deliberate, people. Because they want to get people used to not owning games, period, and only having a short-term subscription to that gameplay that they can change at any point they want without your consent, and there's nothing you can do about it, as well as they can end the support for it anytime they want without your consent, and you no longer own that game. You no longer have access to it. You can no longer play it. That's what they want. It's not a one-time thing. It's not a one-off thing. Because I've explained that I have several games, and I've talked about them at length every time that I covered one of them that I own like this, so that you can get the idea of just how pervasive this type of programming and this type of gameplay is becoming. It needs to end. We need to have physical media for these games. We need to have a single player experience for these games that can continue to be enjoyed even when the online aspects of it cease to exist. And until we start demanding that by refusing to purchase games that don't provide that, this type of behavior will continue and get worse. It's not going to get better. They're not going to start supporting them for longer and longer. Absolutely not. In fact, what we've seen is the trend of them supporting them for less and less time. When they first started this, the games were supported for 12, 14, 15 years. We have games today that were supported for 2 or 3 years, and as soon as they stop making a profit, a continuous profit on that game, they just stop supporting it. And that's what's going to happen with all of them if we continue to purchase this type of experience. And we continue to tell them by purchasing it that it's okay to do this to us. Because that's what you're really telling them when you buy this type of game. It's okay for me to have a subscription, a short-term subscription to this game. I understand that and I accept that. That's what you're saying every time you purchase a game like this. Period. Whether you want to believe that or not, that's what you're telling these companies. That you're okay with this not existing in a few years. You're okay with never being able to play this again when they stop supporting it. You're okay with never actually owning the game that you paid for. I do not agree with those tenets. I do not agree with that type of programming for a gaming experience. Period. If I can't own it and play it for the rest of my life, I'm not going to own it at all or play it at all. I would rather just skip it. Period. And until the general public as a whole starts treating these games like that, this behavior will never end. Alright, so as you can see, there are several different types of creatures that you can play in this game. And you'll continue to upgrade those creatures and gain new abilities and gain new creatures, and you'll continue to unlock new power-ups and things to that effect. And as you can tell, this is essentially a single-player game. There was no reason for this to ever be an online-only experience. The reason that they made it an online-only experience was so that they could take it away from you and normalize this type of behavior. And don't think that it stops with gaming, because that's not even where it started. This insanity started with the music industry, where they could take away all of your online music whenever they wanted. You said something they didn't like on some platform online, they'll just cancel your subscription to your online music. And they had, to hundreds of thousands of people across this planet. And all of the money that they spent for all of that music that they purchased was null and void. Now the only way that they could get their music back, should they choose to do so, was to cancel their internet provider, purchase another internet through another provider, replace their computer with a different one, and then begin the process of repurchasing all of that music. That's actually where this insanity started. And then it went into the movie industry with subscription services for shows that you could watch. We saw the end result of that with the PlayStation Store, where people had purchased thousands of dollars worth of movies. And when PlayStation decided to cancel it, well, you just don't have those movies anymore. Oh well, too bad for you. And it's in gaming now. Prevalent in gaming now. And what people don't realize is that it doesn't stop where it is here. It only continues to get worse. It's not just going to be online services that they do this with. And the reason that I know that for a fact is look at what they did to the MyPillow guy. They essentially made it impossible for his company to continue existing. It still does, but all of the TV broadcasting stations like ABC, NBC, CBS, you will not find a MyPillow guy commercial on any of them because they refuse to allow him to purchase airtime for his commercials. The bank that his company was with initially when he started his company closed his bank account and refuses to allow him to bank with them anymore. And he had to find another one. Luckily, the entire banking industry hasn't been captured by this insanity yet. But eventually, as long as people allow this to continue, it will. And there won't be a bank on this planet that will allow him to bank with them. This is the type of insanity that we are moving toward. This world as a whole is going in the wrong direction. And it is we, the people, that have the ability to change it, but only if we decide to do so. And it's going to take a collective effort to make that happen. Because those in power don't care what we think. They do not care what we want. They have already decided that our wants, our desires, our thoughts do not matter. Because they've created laws through lobbying governments to allow them the ability to do this to anyone that they find unacceptable. Period. And this behavior, if you think that it's limited to the MyPillow guy, you're not paying attention. They have done the same thing to thousands of smaller companies that most of you probably didn't even know existed and did not know that they no longer exist at all. Thousands. And that applies to your children as well. As long as we continue down the path that we're currently going down, if any of your children decide to start a business and the powers that be decide that they don't like them, they will destroy that business and ensure that they are incapable of being sustainable by any means necessary. That's the world that we are in now. Whether you want to accept that or not. That's the reality we're already at. And I wholeheartedly reject it. I will not be a part to this insanity. I will never accept this insanity where a corporation or some company has the right to take my property away because they don't like the way I think. That's insane. But we already live in a world where that's a reality. And it has to change. And the only way that it changes is for we the people to stand up against it and say no more. That's the only thing that's going to change this insanity, is to outright reject it and say that these companies do not have this right, regardless of the laws that they had passed and paid our politicians hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to give them the power to do this. And we have to demand that our political elites and establishment rescind those laws, taking those abilities away from these companies and creating laws that protect your rights to your property. Because that's what they've been doing for years, is taking away all of the rights and laws that you had that used to protect your rights and your property. They want you to own nothing and be happy. And they've outright stated it. If you think they're not serious, you're not paying attention. This will get worse. As long as people continue to ignore the reality of what is happening around them, that reality will continue to get worse until one day it does affect you personally. And at that point, there won't be anything that you personally can do to change it. Just like today, there is nothing that I personally can do to change this insanity. Because it takes a collective effort by the majority of people to stop this insanity. And until people are aware of it, are willing to reject it, and demand change of it, it will get worse. It does not get better just because you want it to. It does not get better just because you're not aware of it happening. It does not get better just because. Things like this only go in one direction. Worse. And it will get worse. For everyone. Another prime example, look at TikTok. Whether you know who Tim Pool is or not isn't the point. The point here is that he is a media personality that makes over $1 million a year. And he didn't last 6 months on TikTok, and he never put anything on TikTok that was truly controversial. And they kicked him off permanently anyway because of things that he said on other platforms. And it's in their terms of service. For that matter, it's in YouTube's terms of service. These people do not care about you, the individual, at all. And they don't care how powerful, how rich, or anything else you are. If you do not agree with what they want to do, they will destroy your ability to continue your business. Or at least do their damnedest to try. And it's only going to get worse, people. Not better. Things like this never get better until the people outright reject it. And I don't know how things have to get, how bad things have to get, before that becomes a reality where people do start to outright reject it. And with the way that they're brainwashing your children in public schools and colleges today, I don't think the generation coming up is going to even have the education to know that they can reject it. To know that they can force change by demanding it as a whole, as a collective. Right now we are so divided as a people that I don't even know if it's possible to put an end to this insanity. I don't even know if it's possible to change what they've created. We live in a dystopian nightmare where companies control our politics, our laws, and what we as people are allowed to see, hear, and do. That was never the intent. But that is what has been purchased by the multinational, globalist corporations that think that they know better than you do. They want to centralize everything and force adherence to it by any means necessary. And they damn well mean it. I do not want to live in that world. And I already do. I do not want to have every aspect of my life determined by some corporation because they paid for the right to do so. That's insane. Yet I already live in that world. It's already here. It's only going to get worse and more widespread. And if we do nothing, that will get to the point that every company adheres to this insanity. And every company will cancel your right to exist should you try to stand up against it. And the fake news media is absolutely on board with it. I mean, look at what they were advocating for with the damn COVID vaccine. They wanted to throw people in prison for refusing to take it. Did they get those laws? Not quite. But it wasn't from a lack of not trying. It was from people rejecting that far, or that idea. They knew that was a step too far. But it was okay to imprison people who refused to shut down their business when the corrupt, authoritarian governor told them to. It's okay to put those people in prison for 3 years. Take away their homes, their cars, their business, so that when they get out of prison, they have nothing left. It's okay to absolutely destroy their lives because they refused to listen to their authoritarian government when they were imposing restrictions on them that were absolutely against the Constitution of the United States. 100% not giving a damn about the individual. And people want to believe that PPP. Do you understand that millions of businesses ceased to exist because they never got those PPP payments? Millions. They shut down hoping and praying that they would be able to sustain themselves and their families with these BS payments that the government promised to pay that never came. And look at the world we live in now as a result. Everything costs more. Doesn't matter what it is. Everything. And you think that this wasn't planned? You want to believe that this wasn't the direct result that they had in mind from the get-go? Then you're not paying attention. This is exactly what they had in mind from the get-go. They knew this would be the outcome of what they were doing. That's why they did it. They wanted to shut down as many small businesses as possible so that the only ones that continued to exist when it was over were these globalist, multinational companies that do not give a damn about your rights at all. That was the intention. And they got it. Alright, so what's my overall point that I'm trying to get at here? I don't want to see any more games made like this. I want to change the direction of gaming. I don't want to see more subscription companies for music. I don't want to see more subscription companies for movies. I want all of that to end. I don't want to have subscriptions to everything in life and own nothing. That's a dystopian nightmare, people. And I don't think that's the direction that we should be going in. I mean, we already have cars where you can purchase a subscription in order to get more power. The power was already there. They just limited it. How much power the vehicle had through programming. And you purchase a subscription to a program that will unlock that. Therefore, you are always paying for your car even when it's paid for. And the same thing could be said for insurance. Insurance is a stupid tax. Because any time that the government wants to make more revenue, all they have to do is change the law a little bit and say, well, now by law you're required to have more insurance, which ensures that they will get more taxable revenue from all the different insurance companies that you are forced by law to have. It's a stupid tax. It's always been a stupid tax. But to take it a step further with property, we need to change the direction of these companies, all of them, in what they actually build and create for our consumption. We need to have legislation in place that forces companies to build products that last. And what we have currently is companies building products to break, so that you have to purchase the product again, and again, and again, and again. There is no reason for this insanity. It can be changed. But we have to have a consensus on how that happens. The people have to be united on that front and demand that companies build products that last. And if companies are unwilling to, then we, the people, should have the ability to cease that company's existence. I mean, if you really want to say that you care about this planet and you want to create a sustainable economy, that's truly what it takes. It takes companies building products that last. And I'm not talking about lasting for 10, 15 years. I'm talking about lasting for generations. Without that consensus, without people being united on that understanding, we will continue to have companies that build products to break, so that you have to replace them constantly. This is the types of things that I talk about here on this channel all the time, and for good reason, because I see the direction that this world is headed in, and it's not a good place. And it has nothing to do with the lies from the fake news media telling you about all the bad directions that this world's got. It's all lies, people. All of it. You want to believe in climate change? Go right ahead. Do you honestly think that the taxing you for carbon emissions or nitrogen emissions or shutting down farms is somehow going to stop it? Of course it won't. And they know it. It's a scam. I'm not saying that climate change is a scam. I'm saying that every remedy that they say exists for it that they want to implement is a scam. You really want to put an end to this insanity? I just explained to you one of the best ways to do it. Drastically reduce resource consumption by forcing them to produce products that last. Drastically reduce waste by forcing them to build products that last. That one simple understanding, that one simple aspect will achieve two things at the same time. It will reduce resource consumption, and it will reduce waste at the same time. And none of the fake news media wants you to think that way. That's why none of them are saying that's what needs to be done. They are not your friend. They are your enemy. They do not have your best interest at heart. They want you to be subservient to their will by any means necessary. And they mean it. They've already proven that fact with what they've done already. And they will continue to prove this fact, and they will continue to beat you down and suppress every single person that disagrees with them until there's no one left. And when it reaches that point, the oppression that you will receive as a result will be unbearable. If you do not stand up for yourself now, it will be your children that suffer for it later. We've already seen the reality of what they want. They have already shown us the direction that they want to take. I reject it wholeheartedly, and so should you.
That ability is not ready. Overdrive ready. Overdrive active.
Anyway, that's my rant for the day. I hope that you enjoy the rest of yours. If you could hit the like, subscribe, rumble, follow buttons, all that does help. And I will talk to you later.